Hello everyone, how is it going? Now, it is important to remember that when you are suffering from OCD, it will feel like your brain is against you. It will feel like you are stuck and trapped in that internal torturous cycle, in that internal tormenting cycle. That's how it will feel. You will feel quite powerless. You will feel like you are just spiraling out of your control and that OCD is hitting you from every angle. That's how it will feel. We've all been there. I can't sugarcoat that. I can't deny that. I can't say OCD suffering is easy because it is definitely not. And we know from lived experience how hard that is. However, what you must remember in those moments when it does feel like OCD is against you, you must remember that OCD is a fear cycle. Without fear, OCD is powerless. OCD breeds off fear. Anything that you can't yet accept, or anything that you could only accept in a conditional fashion, OCD will go wild. Anything that you are terrified of, anything that you hold very rigid beliefs around, anything that you have a tendency to catastrophize over, anything that you hold quite low frustration tolerance beliefs over, maybe it's I can't stand this, or I can't bear that, or I couldn't cope with this, maybe it's a worst case scenario that you'd be scared of. And OCD is looking to pounce. It's waiting to pounce. Okay, so OCD knows exactly what it is you're terrified of. Maybe you find quite often you have fears of being written off as a bad person, as doing something wrong, and labeling yourself as an undeserving person, bad, no good, worthless, not worthwhile, just totally life ruined. If I've done this and there's no coming back from this, passing that irreversible line, you've gone past the point of no return. Maybe that's sort of like the guilt themes or the taboo themes or moral related fears, whatever it may be. OCD will target that. But remember that it's all due to fear. And we hold irrational beliefs around our core fears. So what we do in coaching calls is that we identify your main core fears and we'll sit down together and think, well, what is it that we're actually scared of here? What are you terrified of here? Because remember that you're not just in this fear cycle for no reason. It's not like it's just been given to you. You haven't just been given OCD and then you're just scared of something. You'd have irrational beliefs around particular fears and particular topics and particular subjects, and OCD is thriving. OCD is flourishing due to your irrational beliefs that you hold around these particular fears. So this is why it's very important that what we do is dissect these fears. Initially, we address them and think, okay, what is it that you're scared of here? Because each time you're stuck, each time that you're triggered or going for a relapse, going through a setback, when you just feel totally trapped in that OCD cycle, that isn't happening for no reason. Okay, somebody hasn't just cursed a spell on you and gone, oh, you're stuck with OCD. There's nothing that you can do. No, it's happening due to a fear cycle. If we start dissecting that fear, if we start lowering that fear, then OCD has nothing. But of course, the skill and what we do together on coaching calls and with your disputing work and your reading and your belief work and your behavior work, you start to break those fears down between the calls, and that's how progress starts to happen. Because look right now, if you're watching this video and you feel very stuck, that ain't happening for no reason. It's not like you're just stuck for no reason. The skill on the recovery journey is thinking, well, what is it that I'm scared of? What is fueling this suffering? What is the source of the problem? What is the root cause of my suffering? And when we get to that, which is what we will do, no matter how hard it can be, no matter how impossible it can feel, no matter how hopeless you feel right now, no matter how stuck and trapped you feel right now, it is possible to make progress because it's a fear cycle. OCD takes orders from our belief systems, okay? We have very rigid beliefs around particular core fears, as we start ripping them apart, as we start getting under them with perspective shifts and unconditional self-acceptance, other acceptance and life acceptance, these fears start to untangle. You start to unwire the beliefs that you're holding around these particular fears. Then OCD starts backing down as a byproduct. And this is why, if you just try and get rid of OCD, if you just try and eliminate OCD, it doesn't work, because you can't just fight. You're not just trying to fix it and cure it and get rid of it. What you're doing is seeing, well, how is OCD thriving? How is OCD flourishing? And this is why we take that quite thorough approach, quite a detailed approach in our coaching calls, because what we do in our coaching setup, we think, right, okay, straight away, what is it that you're scared of? Right? We're not looking to get rid of your OCD in call number one. What we're doing is looking at the framework which is allowing OCD to thrive. And bit by bit, we start deconstructing that framework by chipping away at the core fears and the beliefs that you're holding, whilst also the behaviors, the compulsions that you're doing, which is reinforcing those fears and reinforcing those irrational beliefs. We'll also take a look at life structure and all the poor habits that you are partaking in, all the compulsions that you are performing, all the avoidance behaviors, the instant gratification behaviors, the laziness, the procrastination, all these different behaviors that play a big part in our suffering. We look to tackle them. We break them down in a thorough, detailed manner, because then OCD really starts taking a step back. But you must remember that this isn't a quick fix. This isn't a sudden change, right? You don't just come on call number one and go, right then, Sam, let's take a look at my fears. This is what I'm scared of. Help me. Now, of course, we'll identify the fear. We'll look at the beliefs that you're holding. We'll change them into rational beliefs. We'll do all the disputing questions as you read the books. But please don't expect a quick fix. Please. These beliefs around these core fears can be very deep-seated, very deeply ingrained, because usually they are being reinforced from a young age, through childhood, right? We tend to learn irrational thinking from quite a young age, especially the conditional acceptance, especially the writing humans off, especially sort of that competitive side. Oh, I must be the best, I must be perfect, I must always achieve, and my life is ruined, sort of the finality of it all. My life is ruined if X, Y, and Z. My life is over if this happens. OCD thrives off that kind of thinking. It's too rigid, it's too black and white, it's too all or nothing. It's way too rigid, okay? So what we need to do is tackle them again and again and again and think, well, what is it that's causing this suffering? And what I love about this approach is that no matter how deeply ingrained these beliefs are, no matter how deeply seated or deep-rooted they are, because we take the approach of we are accountable for our own mental health, we choose to break this down. Meaning that what we then do is that we put our emotional health in our hands. And what I mean by that is we say, hang on a minute. I can't keep saying this thing in the past is causing my depression. I can't keep saying this intrusive thought is causing my anxiety. I can't keep saying this potential worst case scenario is causing my panic attack. I can't keep saying that this thing in the past is fueling my guilt and shame. It's influencing, it's contributing, yes. Okay, external events do that. But what we do and what we focus on is the internal problem. And that is the belief systems and the behaviors and the life structures and so on, all the things that we work on. Because when we do that, we then think, I constructed my belief systems. I created my belief systems. I invented my belief systems. And I foolishly choose to cling on to my irrational belief systems. Therefore, I can now choose to rewire those belief systems, which lead to healthier results emotionally. Okay? Now, I love that, because it means that we are accountable, as in you are. You watching this video, you are accountable for your own mental health, because there is nothing worse when you feel totally lost and trapped and stuck with OCD, feeling hopeless, where you're like, well, excuse my language, well, I'm fucked, I'm trapped, I'm stuck. Like, what can I do? Especially with like something like real event false memory OCD, because many times I used to say, well, no, I'm fucked because this thing's happened in the past and there's no way out of this. I'm done. Not knowing at the time that the reason I was stuck was because of my perspectives, which were very faulty, and my irrational belief systems. And because I started to change them, that then started to allow OCD to unlatch, and then I could go towards more mental freedom and mental liberation. But the problem was that because it will take time for sure, but the problem initially was that I couldn't see how it was an internal problem. What we will show you in coaching courses is how that you can see how you are getting yourself into this state emotionally, because it's our own belief system, it's our own framework is allowing OCD to flourish. You won't see that. If you're new on this journey, you won't see that. And this changed my life. It saved my life. Not just with OCD, but in life, because people can be very quick to blame everything else and go, oh, that may be depressed, that may be sad, that may be this, that may be that. But when you realize that I control my emotional destiny and I am in charge of my own emotional fate due to my own perspectives, my own belief systems, then you can do something about it when you are disturbed, when you are distressed, when you are in emotional turmoil. When you are in emotional despair, you realize that rather than saying, I'm totally hopeless, I've got no hope, no choice, what do I do, I can't do this anymore, rather than going down that path, we think, hang on a minute, although this unfortunate event has happened, or whatever it is, whatever the fear is that you have right now watching this video, you realize that it's your belief systems that's fueling the emotional reaction. And therefore, that gives you the power. It gives you the power because you can then do something about it. Because what we don't want is that feeling of totally being trapped, feeling that there's no way out because we can't change our suffering and think, oh no, what do? I can't do this any longer. What you realize with this approach is what we teach you in the coaching course, is that no matter what it is, no matter what the fear is, no matter what you're scared of, no matter how strange, unusual, taboo, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because once we start tackling the belief side of things, then you're on. You build momentum, then you go for it, because you realize, I'm disturbing myself here. I am depressing myself. I am fueling my own anxiety due to my own irrational beliefs. And when you start making movement there, it's really freeing, because you then realize in life that nothing can disturb you if you allow it to. Now, of course, you're not trying to become a robot. You're not becoming totally emotionless, right? I can still feel emotions of sadness, regret, remorse, frustration, annoyance, disappointment. I want those emotions. Those are healthy negative emotions, because if something doesn't go my way, I want to feel disappointed. I want to feel frustrated. I want to feel annoyed. Why? Well, because it means that I'm more likely to make a change. I'm more likely to make an adjustment so I can get more of what I want and less of what I don't want. But the unhealthy negative emotions of chronic guilt, shame, depression, anxiety, panic, low mood, all these debilitating, dysfunctional emotions, they aren't productive. They aren't effective, nor are they very efficient to how we want to live our life and achieve our goals and fully thrive and flourish in our life. They just hinder us, they block us, they stop us from doing what we want to do by enjoying our life to the maximum. Okay, so you want to be really tackling these belief systems which fuel those emotional reactions. REBT, as you learn in the first book, How to Stubbornly Refuse to Make Yourself Miserable by Anything, Yes, Anything, by Dr. Albert Ellis, changed my life when I realized that I have the key to my own emotional fate. Therefore, I choose to disturb myself. I choose to offend myself. I choose to upset myself due to my faulty belief systems. Things can affect me. Things can contribute to my emotions. Things can compromise how I feel, of course. But ultimately, what really disturbs me is my belief systems. And if I start making a change there, then I can get to a place with more of a robust, sustainable, not only recovery, but mental health and emotional well-being, rather than swaying like the wind. Oh, this triggered me, that depressed me, that made me anxious, that made me panic, that made me guilty, that made me ashamed. That isn't sustainable. That isn't stable at all. Okay? We want to be building that sustainable mental health, and that comes from taking accountability and being responsible for our own mental health by thinking, hang on a minute, I am disturbing myself with my own belief systems. And you have the power to make amendments. You have a power to make change to how you view things, your perspectives, by consistent belief work, consistent reading, and behavioral work and life structure work. And it all goes hand in hand, and it all tends to combine, and then things start changing. Okay, so when OCD feels like it's against you, remember that OCD will not exist if there is no fear. The fear cycle gives OCD fuel. Without fear, OCD is powerless. Of course, it's still there genetically in the brain, but OCD is powerless without fear. Hence why it's extra critical that we're tackling the fears as to what OCD is latching to, and then OCD starts backing down as a byproduct of that. And then we start working towards recovery, feeling more plugged into life, feeling more energized, and living life on our terms, and not being completely surrounded and suffocated and tortured by OCD. Okay? If you are interested in one-to-one services, please can you email phil@ocdrecovery.com. The WhatsApp number will also be in this description of this video. You can get in touch with me, Sam, Rob, Nick, Momin, Gemma, Elliot. All do coaching calls here. We are quite busy, but if you email Phil or text Phil, bombard him with loads and loads of messages. He'll love that. And get booked in as soon as you can, and we can certainly fit you in our schedules and make it a priority for sure. Anyway, guys, great speaking to you all. You take care. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment as well. It's always much appreciated. Any future video suggestions, I am more than happy to take a look. And take care, guys. Bye-bye.